Show.
Welcome to episode 86 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. He's Lepore, I'm Bruno. Thank you so much for listening and watching us on YouTube as well. As of December 28th, 2022, the Toronto Maple Leafs are still a certified wagon, riding a 3-game winning streak, but they still can't catch the Boston Bruins, who I don't think are going to lose like more than 10 hockey games this year, it looks like. It's just absurd. Yeah. But the Leafs are riding a 3-game winning streak. They came out of the holiday break with a 5-4 overtime win over the St. Louis Blues. We have a lot to unpack because there was a lot that went down in that Blues game. We got to talk Ilya Samsonov, William Nylander, and Ryan O'Reilly.
Ooh.
Could he be traded to the Leafs in a couple of months? But before we get into all that, it is time to welcome in my partner in crime, Mr. Michael Lepore. How's it going, man?
It's going very well, Anthony Bruno. I am especially happy to be here today because I'm sitting in this chair rather than outside shoveling snow because we are getting dumped on here in sunny Ottawa, Ontario today. I will be procrastinating about shoveling that snow all day, but I guess I'll have to get to it at some point because the wife will make me, because that's how it is. Episode 86 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast. It's one of those sad days, Bruno. It's one of those sad ones. Nobody in the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs has ever donned the number 86. So it's out there. You any kids out there listening or watching on YouTube, you want to play for the Leafs and have your number retired, 86 is one of those ones you can take.
Someone at some point is going to don the number 86.
You know what's funny? Like how old I am. You know what I thought? I'm like, you know what? Someone will do it because it'll be like someone born in 86. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that person's old. So,
that person's too old now.
Yeah, these kids now,
Exactly.
it's like he's going to be wearing number 3 because he's born in 2003. I'm like, oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
Wild. It's wild, man, to think about. We're both getting old, man.
Jeez.
All right, Lepore, let's get right into this. So since our last podcast, the Leafs beat the Flyers in the next gen game and then picked up a thrilling 5-4 overtime win over the St. Louis Blues. That's where we are going to focus most of our attention here. There were so many things that came out of this game, Lepore.
Yeah.
Never mind the William Nylander overtime winner, which was awesome.
Woo.
We have the pick play, Justin Falk on Jordie Benn, which caused Sheldon Keefe to lose his mind, and every Leaf fan knows what happened in Game 7 against Tampa in the playoffs last year when Justin Hall set a pick on Anthony Cirelli. 2 seconds later, John Tavares scores the tying goal, and it's waved off on an interference call. We had that. We had the Zach Aston Reese high stick that went uncalled. We had TJ Brodie being awarded a penalty shot in overtime. There was just so many things going on. I'm glad the Leafs were able to pick up a 5-4 win. Lepore, what were just your overall thoughts on that game last night?
I thought it was a great game. I mean, a lot happened, like you've already touched on. I was a little nervous coming in off the break. I guess you could say every team is in that position, but the Leafs being the Leafs, you're always expecting the worst. But I thought they played well. I mean, I think they ended up outshooting the Blues. They had a lot of the puck possession. Money Puck had them with a lot of the share of the attempts on net. So they look good. One thing I will say about this game, or even recent games, but this game in particular, I'm noticing more and more lately, and people are going to argue against this one. I can already picture it. I'm noticing more and more lately that the Leafs need Morgan Rielly back. I really do think that. Like, people are pointing to, oh, look at our record without Morgan Rielly. We don't need him. Watching these games, watch the Leafs trying to break out of their own zone. They're not as quick. Their transition's not as good. And let's face it, Morgan Rielly logs a lot of ice time. So I'm looking forward to having him back. I think he's a weapon that maybe gets underappreciated in Toronto because we have so many offensive players. But I really am seeing it that not necessarily struggling to get out of our own zone, but just that transition game's not there.
Oh, I'm seeing the exact same thing. And that is being amplified with Rasmus Sandin also out of the lineup.
100%.
Nursing a neck injury right now. So you have arguably your two best puck-moving defensemen. I don't love bringing up the term puck-moving defenseman because it kind of sheds a negative light on guys like that, as if they're not good in their own zone and they're not good defensively. They're just puck
soft
movers. That's it.
Yeah.
But Morgan Rielly is so damn good. I'm so happy you brought this up. And I think now you're starting to see, like, man, we could really use him. Not only breaking out of our own end on the power play, in 3-on-3 overtime. I think it was glaring not having Morgan Rielly on the ice, because that's like having basically 3 forwards with his ability to skate. So yeah, the Leafs need Rielly back. It still looks like it's going to be a little bit of time before we see him. Rasmus Sandin appears to be getting closer to a return, but you can't help but be impressed, man. This team, doesn't matter who's out of the lineup on the blue line, doesn't matter who's out of the lineup up front. They just keep chugging along and winning games, and it's great to see.
Yeah, you hate to use those cliche terms like that are like TSN headlines or Sportsnet headlines, but they're finding a way to win. Like every game's different. They play ugly, their goalie steals it, or it's a sloppy game. They come out ahead, they squeak it out in overtime like last night. And a lot was pointing to the Leafs losing last night as far as hockey gods go. You had the high stick that got missed on Aston Reese. You had like Brodie missing the penalty shot, like one of those where, yeah, this is not our night. Like we're going to end up losing this in a shootout or something. But again, finding a way to win. And you can point the credit there to a few places. Sheldon Keefe, guys stepping up. The vets taking more weight on. We're putting 5, like you mentioned, Rielly and Sandin being out. We're putting 5 forwards on the power play, which is not as much of a surprise as it's been in the past. And when I say the past, I mean like the history of hockey, but still, Sandin or Rielly would be out there. So again, finding different ways, finding different combinations. And I think we touched on the last episode. There's nothing really to be upset about at the moment as far as the Leafs go.
And I've been beating this drum now for the last little while. Got to give more credit to Sheldon Keefe.
Yes.
Because this guy has been working his magic this year. And the reason I thought about Sheldon Keefe is because you brought up the fact that the Leafs are using 5 forwards on the power play. Like they're trying different things. Even going back to when he separated Matthews and Marner. And now look at the success of the top line with Matthews, Nylander, and Bunting. We have 5 forwards on the power play right now. All the things that are happening on the blue line. It's like it's a different defense core every single night. And the Leafs just continue to play well. They're playing the same way, and they keep winning games. So it's been awesome to see. Lepore, sticking with this Blues game, what was your take on these missed calls? Because it seems to happen to the Leafs a lot, and here come the Leafs haters being like, of course, Leaf fans complaining about the referees and missed calls. But it's just ridiculous. You have the Zach Aston Reese high stick, and he starts bleeding everywhere. It went completely unnoticed. You have the pick play, and first, when Jordan Kyrou scored the tying goal to make it 4-4, and Sheldon Keefe loses his mind, I think the initial reaction was, oh, he's mad about goalie interference. Yeah. And then they show the replay, and there was no goalie interference. And then people start putting two and two together and realize, oh, okay, Justin Falk, St. Louis defenseman, bumped into Jordy Ben. And I thought it was totally by accident, but he set a pick on the play. And then about 5 to 7 seconds later, Jordan Kyrou scores the goal. And then if you remember going back to the playoffs last season, like I mentioned already on the show today, Justin Hall set a pick on Anthony Cirelli, which led to John Tavares' tying 1-1 goal. But in both instances, I thought it was incidental contact. And it's just stuff that happens in the heat of battle in the middle of a hockey game. And of course, it was Wes McCauley who was reffing last night's game against St. Louis and who reffed the Game 7 against the Leafs. So what's your take on those calls, or those non-calls, I should say?
I'll start with the interference one. And I knew right away that it didn't have to do with goal interference, simply from Keefe's reaction. Like for those watching on YouTube, he was doing the X with his arms, which hockey geeks know, like that's the interference penalty call. So I'm like, no. There must have been an interference somewhere. Someone picked someone or something. And then we found out that was the case. See, with that one, I go back and forth because there's one side of me that says it's a contact sport. It's a fast sport. There can be incidental contact. You should not be penalized for that. So on one end, I'm kind of okay with that not getting called and the goal standing. But at the same time, if it was to be blatantly obvious, a player setting a pick to free up a teammate, yeah, that's got to be a penalty. But then you get into the whole dilemma of you have to be black and white with it. If you create that gray area, it's a big problem. So I can understand the league saying, no, even if it's incidental and it's going to benefit your team because it opens up ice, whether you score or not. So it is a penalty. So I guess we just deem it to a missed call. Like, I'm not too rattled about that one because, yeah, like, it's one of those ones where the Blues score and we're all smashing our coffee tables. But had that shot got high and wide and the Leafs get out of the zone, we never would have noticed it or not cared about it, right? So I think the timing was bad, but like, I'm not overly angry about that missed call because that's one of those ones where it kind of happens, and it happens to both teams. Different cases, they just happen to score because, again, of course, the Leafs. As for the one on Aston Reese, we've talked about it before on the podcast. When it comes to the penalties, and it's funny how we're just talking about interference, when it comes to the penalties that are, I'll use the terminology again, black and white, there should be a review or challenge available. Period. I don't think you should be able to challenge interference because it's, again, it's incidental contact. The whole debate of, oh, did he do it on purpose or did he do it by accident? No. We don't want that because then you're going to get shit thrown everywhere. But you have a player dripping blood everywhere on the ice. You saw Giordano pointing to him like, oh my God, like on the bench trying to get the referee's attention. Does that not deserve a review? And again, maybe it was his own stick. Maybe it was his teammate's stick and nothing, and we move on.
You should look at it.
But you should look at it. You should look at it. And again, it's not that big of a topic because the Leafs ended up winning. But if I remember correctly, there was a minute 30 left in the game when that happened. I might be wrong, but I think it was about a minute 30. So that's a double minor. So the Leafs finish the game with a power play. And then if they don't score, they have 2.5 minutes of a 4-on-3 in OT to start. So that's a good chance the Leafs win. So had they not, that would be a big talking point today. And when it comes to that one, I don't understand it. The only thing I can see is the league not wanting to slow the game further with reviews and this and that. But in cases like that, where it's black and white, no one minds slowing the game down if it's a matter of getting something right. I remember the conversation came up in the footy world when they brought in VAR for offside. And people arguing, oh, this slows the game down, this and that. So would you rather slow the game down or get it wrong? What do you want?
You're absolutely right, man. Especially with that high stick. Like, that is a blatant high stake. It's black and white. You should be able to review that.
Yeah. Or like, challenge it.
Exactly.
Challenge it.
There's no way that a play like that should happen that could change the outcome of a game. And you're just going to continue on and chalk it up to a missed call.
Yeah.
It's like you said, if it's one thing, if it's interference or if it's a hook or something like that, and it's, it's kind of a 50-50 call, but when you are getting high sticked in the face and you start bleeding everywhere, like, come on, man, take 2 minutes to go review that and say, okay, so-and-so on the opposing team, high stick, Zach Aston Reese, he's bleeding. That's a 4-minute double minor, Leafs to the power play.
And what's funny too is, unlike like the ones you mentioned, like the hooking, the holding, the interference, in this case, there's evidence. He's bleeding everywhere. Go look at it. And again, if it was his own stick or a teammate's stick, fine. But there's evidence here. Do it. I don't get it. And you think of these penalties, and I hate to be that guy, worst case scenario, that's an overtime in the playoffs. And a team should have been given a double minor. I mean, Gretzky, 93 on Gilmore. People are already typing that in the comments. But I don't understand it. I don't understand. I think it's one of those ones where what I just said has to happen. You need something like this to happen in a game 7 and a team loses. The team that did not get the call ends up losing, and then they'll change the rule the next year. Like, you need something crazy dramatic to happen. And the NHL to get slapped in the face once in a while. But I'm perplexed why that is not something you can review or challenge.
Speaking of bad calls in the playoffs, going back to this pick situation, I didn't think it should have been called on Justin Hall in Game 7 against Tampa, and I didn't think it should have been called last night on Justin Falk setting a pick on Jordy Ben.
Agreed.
That is shit that happens in pretty much every hockey game, and I'll admit it. When Justin Hall was called for interference in Game 7 against Tampa, setting that pick on Anthony Cirelli, which looked completely incidental, bumped into him. Happens pretty much every game. I had never seen that called in a hockey game in my life. I sure as hell haven't seen that called in a playoff game.
Yeah.
Like, unless I'm going crazy, I don't think I've ever seen that called before. So it's ridiculous, man. Like, for the Leaf fans who are complaining that there should have been a pick called or an interference call made on Justin Falk for setting a pick on Jordy Ben, those calls should never be made. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's in the rule book somewhere. That is stuff that happens in every game. Plays like that, you just let them play. All right. It's a physical sport. Let them play. You can't be changing the outcome of games based on a pick play. I'm sorry.
I'll ask you this then, Bruno. So I'm sure you agree on if it's blatantly obvious, it should be a penalty.
If it's blatantly obvious, if someone is like ramming into someone and you can tell like they're skating like 20 feet away and they're going in there to set a pick, almost like in basketball. When you're setting up, it's like a pick and roll, you're setting a pick at the top of the arc for the point guard. Like, that's his job. He's going in there to set the pick for the guard, right? If someone's doing that in a hockey game where like they're flying in to set a pick so someone can get a scoring opportunity and it's blatantly obvious, sure, then you call a penalty. But when it's just guys bumping into each other, like, come on, what are we doing with that?
But I'll follow up with this though, Bruno. I think maybe, if that's the case, we're giving the refs a lot of credit to be able to differentiate between the two. And I don't think we're giving enough credit to the players where they're going to do it accidentally on purpose. And then it becomes really hard. So I think it's a tough one. I think it's a judgment call every time. It doesn't happen too often. These ones, there were goals on them, one called, one not. So of course we're going to talk about it and get angry or whatever. But for something like this, I just kind of put my hands up and say, it is what it is. It's the referee's call if he catches it. And if he thinks it was bad enough that it was done on purpose, or if it was just kind of two guys skating together and they didn't, wires got crossed and it shouldn't be called. But I necessarily have like a hot take with this one, or a firm take, I should say. To me, it's like you said, it's a contact sport and it's going to happen throughout the season a few times.
I just don't want to see any team in the NHL be on the wrong end of the stick like the Leafs were in Game 7 against Tampa on a pick play. Like, I don't want to see that decide the outcome of a playoff game or a playoff series moving forward. And whatever the NHL needs to do to figure that out, figure it out. It's time for a quick break for a word about MANSCAPED. The global leaders in below-the-waist grooming are leaving 2022 with brand new products. Persevere Cologne and Persevere Body Wash. 2023 is the year to up your hygiene game and smell amazing. And MANSCAPED wants to help you do it with this special offer using our promo code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. So take the leap into the new year and join the 7 million men who already trust Manscaped. Lepore, this company never misses with their products, man.
I am so excited for this new cologne because I'll tell you why. You use the Lawnmower 4.0, you head into the shower, you shampoo, you body wash, then you get out, you put on the deodorant, maybe a little bit of body spray, get all dressed up, ready to go out, and you spray that cologne just for the cherry on top. Like you said, Bruno, Manscaped doesn't mess around. All their products are awesome. Head to the website, GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping.
Manscaped never misses, man. The Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, the new cologne and body wash. Just when you think that maybe they're going to slow down and they kind of have their, their set products out there, they come up with something new and it always ends up being amazing. So Manscaped, keep doing what you do because you make men around the world look good, feel good, and play good. So once again, get 20% off and free shipping using our promo code GFP20 at manscaped.com. That is GFP20. Go to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. True Classic tees are a gift for you and a great present for any guy in your life. True Classic is on a mission to maximize men's confidence by making them look good. Trust me when I say this is a gift the ladies will appreciate too. True Classic has already helped over 2 million men look great in their tees, and now you can save big while you do so. Get 25% off True Classic using our promo code GFP, or head down to the description of this video and use our exclusive link, trueclassictees.com/GFP. And the discount doesn't stop there. You'll save even more during their site-wide sale. Lepore, I love these t-shirts.
Bruno, I am one of those people who, it doesn't matter how many push-ups I do, how much I do on the bench press, I don't gain any size. We're not all fortunate like Mr. Anthony Bruno to be born an absolute Adonis. So some of us need help. But since trying on these True Classic tees, I fear no more because I look great. I'm not going to go as far as say I look jacked because now we're going overboard because I'm really skinny. But I got to say it does help a little bit. So gentlemen, take all the help you can get. Go to trueclassictees.com. Grab a few of these things. Even if you want to buy a small amount of them just to try them out, you will not be disappointed. They will be your new go-to t-shirt.
These t-shirts are the best. They fit so well, like nice and snug in the upper body, on the arms and the shoulders. But then as you kind of go down, it's not tight around your midsection. So it doesn't matter which body type you have, all right? Whether it's a dad bod, whether you have a more athletic physique, whether you're more on the skinny side, you can find a t-shirt here that is going to work for you. And that's why I love this company. So get 25% off at trueclassictees.com/GFP. Free shipping is included on purchases over $100. That's 25% off at trueclassictees.com using the promo code GFP. Fellas, are you looking for a new watch that you don't have to spend an arm and a leg on? Well, say hello to our friends at Vincero. If you aren't familiar with Vincero yet, they make exceptionally crafted and stylish watches at affordable prices. Other premium handcrafted watches don't fit the everyday person's budget. You can finally own a high quality and lasting timepiece without going broke. So if you're looking for the perfect holiday gift to help elevate your style or someone you love, get 20% off and free shipping with our promo code GFP, or use the exclusive link in the description of this video, vincerocollective.com/GFP. Lepore, these watches are so sick.
Bruno, like, look at this watch. Guys, like, look at this watch. You can wear this with your jeans and a t-shirt. You can wear this watch with your tuxedo. And that's what I love about the Vincero products. You go through them, you can dress them up, you can dress them down. They're versatile. And as Bruno said, they don't break the bank. So if you want something that's high quality for not a high-end price, hit up Vincero, everyone.
These watches are just so nice. The quality is off the charts. The look is amazing. This is the Altitude. Lepore's rocking the Kairos. Just phenomenal watches. Absolutely love these from Vincero. So don't wait, or it's going to be too late. Get 20% off and free shipping with our exclusive link, vincerocollective.com/GFP. Just go to the website and use the promo code GFP for 20% off and free shipping. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. If you like to bet on sports, you absolutely need Betstamp, the best app to help you become a more profitable sports bettor. So go download Betstamp immediately and use our referral code GFP. The main reason you need it is for line shopping. Betstamp allows you to line shop for the most valuable odds on each wager and therefore maximize your potential profit as a bettor. So if you're betting on the Toronto Maple Leafs, you can't just go to one sports book. You got to look across the board to see who's offering you the most value, whether that's on the money line or the puck line. And also the importance of having multiple sports books, because if you have multiple sports books, you're able to access the best prices, and Betstamp, as I alluded to, streamlines this process for users. Lepore, Betstamp is such a good tool for sports bettors.
Guys, as Bruno and I have said on the pod, there's been a lot of unpredictability in the National Hockey League this year. Good teams are losing, bad teams are winning. So it's hard. It is hard to bet. It is hard to be a successful bettor. So why not take advantage of the help you can, line shop with Betstamp.
And one other thing that Betstamp does that's fantastic is that it allows you to connect with all the major sports books,
right,
and it allows you to link your account so your wagers from all those sports books automatically sync right into the app. So
good.
Download the app and use our referral code GFP I will have it linked down in the description. Betstamp is the way to go if you're a sports bettor and you actually want to make some money betting on sports. Lepore, we got to talk about TJ Brodie and that penalty shot in overtime.
TJ.
Man, if he scored on that penalty shot, that would have been unreal, man. That would have been one of the moments of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
TJ Brodie, defenseman. Now, he used to be a little bit more of an offensive defenseman when he was younger. But now he's more of a stay-at-home guy, responsible, just get the puck out of your zone. Like, he's not running the power play. He's not a flashy guy. He gets an opportunity to win the game in overtime on a penalty shot. And, of course, he's a defenseman, so he missed. And the Leafs ended up winning, so it didn't matter. But that was, man, that would have been awesome to see him score.
It's funny because, okay, let's say it. So there's certain players on a penalty shot or in a shootout that you have like a confidence meter of, or like an excitement meter of. So you think like for the Leafs, it would be Marner, Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, even like a guy who can pull a move. Like say like you go one level down, like a Kerfoot could pull a move and beat a goalie, whatever. If I'm being perfectly honest, I had a smile on my face as Brodie was approaching that puck to start taking the penalty shot. And my confidence meter, like, could not have been lower. Like, I had zero expectation. Like, had he scored, I think I would have been more perplexed than excited. And I will say this, and I'm sure a lot of fans had the same reaction I did. How he tried to deke Binnington. It's like, no, TJ, just shoot it. Like, put your head down and blast it. Like, you don't have the hands. Like, let's have some self-awareness here. And maybe he thought, like, I'm going to catch him off guard because he thinks I'm going to shoot it, but I'm going to pull something. So whatever the psychology is there. But it was a moment of the ages, and we can laugh at it now because the Leafs won. But I've made the point on this pod in the past about about teammates breaking balls of other players after certain things happen. For sure, Brodie heard it in the locker room.
He was hearing it in the room
after that effort. I think, you know what, when the camera went on him, I don't know if he was just making a face and you saw his mouth guard. I think he was smiling. Like, he kind of knew, like, this was stupid. Like, me taking a penalty shot. So kind of good. But again, they won, so we can all laugh about it. But
I like how you mentioned how he deked and you were like so perplexed that he did that. I kind of have the opposite take where I was kind of pleasantly surprised that he tried to deke because as soon as I saw TJ Brodie being awarded the penalty shot, I go, okay, he's a defenseman. He's guaranteed going to load up a wrist shot and shoot it right into the goalie's chest. I was considering betting money on it if I could have. What will the exact outcome of this penalty shot be? Wrist shot into the goalie's chest. Mm-hmm. And when TJ Brodie attempted a deke, I was like, wow, I didn't think you had that in you trying that deke. So I like the idea, but I think you are right, Lepore. Honestly, he probably just should have tried to pick a corner or do something. I mean, he wasn't going to score anyway, but
yeah,
would have been incredible to see.
I know myself, and like, I mean, you play hockey like I do. Whenever I'm playing, guys who play pickup hockey, guys who play beer league, there's situations where you're kind of playing at a level that's too high for you. It happens once in a while. Like, you're playing with younger guys who played at a high level or whatever it is. And myself anyway, well, when you're playing in those situations, the goalies are way better, or you had goalies played at a very high level. So me in that situation, I go 5-hole. I'm just like quick head fake, little hand move and 5-hole because you got a shot. And what else are you going to try to do? Like, beat this high end goalie. So maybe that's a way he could have went. Like, just quick head fake, try to slide along the ice in between his legs and hope for the best. But again, funny situation. Hopefully we never have to watch that ever again. Let's all cross our fingers, Leafs fans.
Yeah. And if the Leafs defenseman is awarded a penalty shot in overtime, ideally it's Morgan Rielly.
No, or even Sandin.
Or Rasmus Sandin, exactly.
Yeah, even like, who else can we go? Honestly, even like Liljegren, would you be like, he can pull a move?
Yeah, honestly, even Giordano, I think.
I tried to vision even like Victor, like Mete. He could probably. So pretty much everybody.
Pretty much every Leafs defenseman would score other than TJ Brodie. It looks like.
Yeah, And again, Muzzin would have listened to us and at least unloaded a clapper and killed the goalie if he didn't score. So
Muzzin would have unleashed a clapper from like 10 feet away.
Yeah, that's
a guarantee.
That should be maybe a top 10 topic for the next episode. 10 Leafs in the history of the team most unlikely to score on a penalty shot.
So funny, man. That honestly would have been like the moment of the year so far if Brodie scored. But hey, we'll take the Leafs victory all day long. Lepore, we got to talk about Ilya Samsonov.
Oh, we're going to negative topics now.
We got to talk about Ilya Samsonov because he led in 4 goals against St. Louis. He has now allowed 12 goals on 81 shots over his last 3 games for an .852 save percentage. Again, the Leafs won the game, and they have won most of his starts this season. He is 11-3 in 14 starts this season, and he still has great numbers across the board, a .920 save percentage and a 2.20 goals against average. But should we be concerned that he is in this little funk right now, allowing 12 goals over his last 81 shots faced?
Oh, yes, we should be. Because I know very often on this show, we'll say, you know what, it's just things happen and whatever. Because this was such a hot topic going into the season, and we could very well point to goaltending being the Leafs' downfall last season, we are allowed to be worried. He has not looked good. He has not looked good. And I think it's a testament to how good the team's been. When they posted that after he beat Philly, what was the record? He won his first 9 starts at home, 9-0-0 at home. So it was kind of like, oh, that's incredible. But then at the same time, I think we were all like, he hasn't been that good. It's just kind of the Leafs winning those games. These are bad numbers. And it's okay. It's only a 3-game stretch. It's only a 3-game stretch. And his numbers prior to this stretch were off the wall. He had the highest save percentage in the National Hockey League. I think he was batting like a .939. So we all know he was going to have a few stinkers and go more towards like what league average is. So I am worried, Bruno. I am, because we may need him at some point. And who knows? It's funny because going into the season, I mentioned to you before how I was rooting for Samsonov. I wanted him to be the guy because he's kind of the lottery ticket, the Russian kid, can't speak English well. It's kind of funny, good story. Like, let's see it. But the more and more I'm watching, he's the backup. He's the backup. And that doesn't mean he can't be a strong goalie. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't have high expectations of him. But regardless of his numbers, I mean, if we looked at them now, I mean, we'd all take it based on like if we were shown this going into the season, 100%, we would take Samsonov's numbers. But I will admit, I have that little worry that the start of the season was less of a reality than what we're seeing now.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm a little bit concerned as well. Because, you go back to last season, not just last season, his career numbers leading up to this season were not very good. I mean, he was hovering around a .900 save percentage for his career, playing on the Washington Capitals, who, if you've been paying attention over the last few years, have been a pretty good hockey team. Not, a Stanley Cup championship team, but they've been pretty darn good ever since Ilya Samsonov has been there. And his numbers have not been great. Plain and simple. So I am a little bit concerned, but as you said, if you told me before the season that 14 games in to his Leafs tenure, he would be 11-3 with a .920 save percentage and a 2.2 goals against average, I would take that all day long. And we all knew he was going to regress after he was leading the league in save percentage through his first 10 to 11 starts. It wasn't going to last. And I said it heading into the season. And I mean, it's not a hot take or anything because the Leafs essentially told you this without telling you this, is that Matt Murray has been the number 1 goalie all along. And they want Matt Murray to be the number 1 goalie all along. And Ilya Samsonov is here. It's a lottery ticket. It's a 1-year deal. It's a 1-year prove it deal. And they weren't totally, expecting him to play this well. But for the most part, this season, he has played well with the exception of the last 3 games, which have been awful. So if you're the Leafs right now, I don't think you're too worried. You still have Matt Murray, and he's found his game. and his numbers are really good. So all in all, I think if the Leafs are going to continue to play as well as they have been defensively, and I'll go over the numbers, which I do on every podcast right now, the Leafs
at least once.
Second, you know it's coming, Lepore. I always have these stats ready. The Leafs sit second in the NHL in goals against per game. Second. We don't see this ever with this team. Also,
Still don't believe it.
It's crazy. Fifth in the league in shots against per game. And then if you want to look at some of the advanced numbers, okay, they are also sixth in the NHL in 5-on-5 expected goals against per 60 minutes. So any way you want to break it down, this is one of the best defensive teams in the NHL. So I think Leafs management is just flat out thrilled that the goaltending is above league average, because last 100%. Season it was a complete disaster. And despite that, the Leafs finished with 115 points. And right now, with their defense playing exceptionally well and their goalies playing well, the Leafs are on pace for a 117-point season. So I don't think they're overly concerned with Samsonov. Obviously, he's got to get things back on track. But I think all in all, Leafs management, Leafs fans, the Leafs as a team should all be pretty happy with how things have gone so far.
Yeah, to me, and again, I've said it all along, 915 is the number. Give us 915 and we're good. See you later. We'll take it, right? So,
and right now the Leafs have been doing that and more. And even looking at 5-on-5 save percentage, the Leafs right now rank fourth in the NHL with a 931 save percentage at 5-on-5.
And that includes Shalgren.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean,
but Lepore, I do hear where you're coming from. Like, it is a little bit concerning just based on his career numbers, but hopefully he's able to figure this out.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday's game, the story coming out was that he wasn't set to start, and then he asked the coaching staff if he could start because he didn't think he played well against Philadelphia. So I don't know now, like, he wasn't good again yesterday. So now where does he feel worse? Is his confidence even lower? He needs to pay a visit to the mental coach at MLSE. I don't know. But again, it's not positive. Whatever way we spin it, him playing like this in his last 3 games is not a positive thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Worst case scenario, this spirals out of control like Jack Campbell.
Yeah.
Like, he gets in his own head. He starts playing terrible hockey for 1, 2, 3 months. Let's hope that doesn't happen. And it's happening right now to Jack Campbell again with the Oilers because Stuart Skinner has taken over that net in Edmonton. So let's hope the same thing doesn't happen with Ilya Samsonov, but it's something we're definitely going to have our eye on.
Sure.
Before, let's talk about something positive now. And that is the play of William Nylander. Who scored the OT winner against St. Louis, steals the puck from Vladimir Tarasenko, comes in, dangles Jordan Binnington. Just a thing of beauty. He is now on pace for 49 goals and 93 points this season. He is having a true, I am a star player in the NHL breakout season. A lot of people forget he had 80 points last season. So last year you could say was his breakout season, but now it's like, no, I'm not just breaking out. I am a star in this league. I am on pace to score 49 goals this season. He has 2 years left on his contract. And before we get to the contract thing, I should also mention that this Matthews, Nylander, and Bunting line has been phenomenal.
Fantastic.
The eye test, watching them game in and game out, dominating the play, dominating possession, dominating the scoring chances. Our friends at Money Puck, looking at their stats for lines, they sort the best lines and the worst lines in the NHL. The Bunting, Matthews, and Nylander line have played 216 minutes together, and of lines that have played at least 200 minutes this season, they rank first in the NHL in expected goals per 60 minutes.
Oh, okay. I knew they were like top 5, top 6. I know they were number 1. Okay.
Number 1 in the league in expected goals for per 60 minutes. Next is Malkin, Brian Rust, and Jason Zucker on Pittsburgh. And then this is actually kind of surprising. Strome, Ovechkin, and Connor Sheary on Washington, followed by Crosby, Gensel, and Raquel. And then the Tampa line of Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, and Brandon Hagel. So those have been the top 5 lines, just in terms of expected goals for per 60 minutes.
Where I remember seeing like, if we're looking at the same list, I think both Sens top lines were like both in the top like 10 to 12. Is that still the case?
Yeah, based on, because I'm just sorting this right now based on 200 minutes played.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I'm sure if I bring this back a bit, yeah, like if I bring it back to 150 minutes played, Stützle, Tkachuk, and Giroux are actually number 2 in the league.
There you go.
It's just that they've played less than 200 minutes together, so that's why it wasn't showing up on that list. But yes, you're right. That line has been fantastic for Ottawa as well.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, talking about Nylander, Lepore, like, this is crazy, man. 2 years left on his deal. He's playing this well. Like, how's this going to go down, man?
Yeah. This is just setting up to be a total like Toronto Maple Leaf story going into the offseason and into next year. And it's tough, man. It's tough. Like, we never know what's going to happen. We never know who's going to stay, who's going to leave. But this one, like, I have no idea. Like, I like I said, and I won't say which way I'm going with Matthews, but I think it's going to go. I'm pretty confident it's going to go one way. With Willie, I don't know. And the thing that Willie has with the leverage, or you tell me, man. Yeah, again, this is a whole topic of conversation. So let's say he finishes the year with like 43 goals or something, like amazing 43 goal season for Willie. The point I was going to make was that Willie, more so than Matthews, if we said they were going to, when it came to the contract negotiation and signing, I would have said there'd be a greater chance of Matthews signing on July 1. Just, I don't know what, because like, what more can he do like in that 1 year? If he wants to stay, he's going to sign and let's get it over with. And why do we need that talking point all season? I would have said Nylander, he could play it out. Like, he could create the nerves and have a long discussion, debate about how much he deserves and the term he deserves. Okay. But now I go back and say, he's also relying on himself to put up similar numbers that he's putting up this year. So he's kind of might be in a pickle too, because the number he wants to sign now, by now I mean the summer, based on his previous season, but the Leafs aren't going to be able to give him that number. And then if it plays out and his year's not as good, he's going to be kicking money away. So I have no idea what's going to happen. I really don't. How nervous are you about this one, Bruno?
I'm pretty nervous about Nylander, and I know some Leaf fans are like, shut up, guys. Why are we talking about this? Both of their contracts don't expire until the end of the 23-24 season. But you said it, man. William Nylander strikes me as a guy who's extremely confident in himself and doesn't let the outside noise get to him. Like, just think about the last 2 playoff runs. Nylander has been the Leafs' best forward.
The man.
Arguably. Yeah. I mean, maybe you could say unanimously he's been the Leafs' best forward if you ask, 100 Leaf fans. I don't know if everyone would say that, but he's been pretty darn good in the playoffs. So again, he strikes me as a guy who doesn't let the moment get to him, doesn't let the situation get to him, is extremely confident in himself. So I could see him playing out his contract and being like, listen, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to take this straight to free agency. I'm going to rack up back-to-back 40-goal seasons, and I'm going to get paid $11 to $12 million on the open market. I can see him attempting to do that. But as you said, Lepore, it also is risky because he's, in the middle of a career season. He can sign an extension just like Matthews on July 1. Ideal scenario for the Leafs is obviously both of them sign extensions on July 1st. Yeah. That's the ideal scenario. You lock up Nylander for, I don't know, $8.5 million or something like that, $9 million. I know. Even that's a little
million. Yeah, we're not getting that.
It's a little iffy. He could be asking for $10 million, man. Who knows? The thing with Matthews, you kind of alluded to it, like, he's going to get his money regardless. It's Austin Matthews. He's the best goal scorer in the NHL. Like, just get it over with. He's going to get his $12 million. He's probably going to be the highest paid player in the league. He's going to get more than McKinnon was just paid. That's just how it is. Yeah. The Nylander situation's a little bit tricky, but Lepore, I could see him taking it another year and playing it all the way in a free agency. I really could.
But to follow up on that, okay, if you go, I mean, they're going to want them to sign on July 1 when the first offer is going to be made or whatever. Do you go into the season in a case where Nylander's unsigned? Do you trade him? Is it like a slam dunk? We have to trade him. We can't lose him for nothing.
Yeah, like if you get any inclination that this guy is bolting, then you have to trade him.
Would you say the same about Matthews?
I would probably say the same thing about Matthews as well. If both guys are going to play this out and walk in at free agency, you are playing with fire. And let's hope it never gets to that point. And honestly, I don't think it will, because I think this team is fantastic. And I think they are finally going to have some playoff success this year.
There it is.
If you have even the slightest inclination that either of these guys is taking this straight into free agency, you have to consider trading both of them at that point. It's as simple as that. And it sounds insane, but you can't let them walk for nothing.
Yeah. It's tough. Like I can see Nylander. Like if we were in this case with both of them, I could see the whole Nylander situation playing out in the way if he walks, because like, let's face it, like we're in a cap league. This happens. It's really easy to say, okay, you should have a rule that if anyone's unsigned with a year to go, you trade them. But at the same time, you're trying to win. So you're not going to get a William Nylander back in the deal. You're going to get pieces. And if you think that overall you're better, who knows? So there is the thing of like, okay, no, we're still trying to win. I could see the Nylander one more likely than Matthews, that like they're willing to just like let him walk. Whereas like Matthews, no, that's like a historically bad thing for a player like that just to walk away. We would have to look it up as like, who are the best players ever just to walk away from their teams. I mean, I guess Tavares would be on that list, but no, you can't have that situation with Matthews. But in terms of like a window and wanting to win, I could see a situation where they're fully okay having Nylander for the season and then letting him walk.
And you know what? That's fair. Like, let's say the Leafs, I don't know, get to the second or third round of the playoffs this year, and they re-signed Matthews in the summer, but Nylander wants to take this to free agency, and they go into this season and they're a great team again. They just came off, let's say, a conference finals appearance. Maybe they play it out and they run it out with Nylander and they see if they can win a Stanley Cup. And then if he walks in the offseason, so be it. Maybe that's the case. But I mean, obviously, I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think any Leaf fan wants to see that happen. Like, no one would want to see Nylander walk for absolutely nothing. But if I had to put my money on one of those guys taking this to free agency and totally betting on themselves, it would be William Nylander, who wants a massive raise from his $6.9 million contract that he's getting paid at the moment.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. As always, it's going to be fun.
But let's not think too far ahead. Let's enjoy the moment. All right. The team's playing well. Nylander's playing the best hockey of his life. Let's enjoy the moment, and we'll deal with that when the time comes. Lepore, before we end this podcast, we got to talk about potential ads that the Leafs could make at the trade deadline, because one name that has been floating around in the rumor mill is St. Louis Blues captain Ryan O'Reilly in the final year of a $7.5 million contract. The Leafs just played St. Louis last night. Ryan O'Reilly, he didn't have a great game. He didn't really do much, but
he scored a nice goal.
That's true. He did have a snipe on Ilya Samsonov. I did forget about his snipe. That was a nice that was a nice shot. Okay, so he did do something. But anyway, he's won a cup. He's won a Conn Smythe. He has the reputation as one of the best 200-foot players in the game. He's not quite the same player he used to be 3 to 4 years ago, but is this a guy that you would like the Leafs to add at the trade deadline with all this money that they're going to have available, with Muzzin on LTIR and some of the other injuries they're dealing with?
I mean, with the straight question, would I like the Toronto Maple Leafs to add Ryan O'Reilly? My answer would be yes. Do I think it's going to happen? My answer is no, because he's a big name and it happens every deadline. Teams pay for names. And I always say all it takes is one stupid team to overpay the hell out of a deal, and it puts you out of it if you're not willing to do that. I also think too, as far as Dubas goes and his style of managing a team, it's not him. It's on him to make that move for Ryan O'Reilly. I know people are already screaming, well, what about the Nick Foligno deal? That really was a weird one to me. Like I thought that was very un-Dubas like, and I look back at it now, and I think under the circumstances, like let's say what it was. Here you had the Leafs in the Canadian division, dominated it all year, and in their path was Montreal, a Montreal team that under normal circumstances wouldn't have been in the playoffs based on their record, and Winnipeg. The Leafs had an opportunity to be in a semifinal of the Stanley. Again, I almost said conference final. I always do that. The Leafs had an opportunity to be in the third round. That was like, I'm not going to say a slam dunk, but you'll never be able to look forward and have a chance like that where these are going to be your top, your two opponents. So I think maybe that move had something to do with it, in the way that Dubas is like, I can add this. I'm going to add it. This is a chance and I'm willing to overpay. But as far as Ryan O'Reilly goes, no. Dubas and his staff will run the numbers. They'll see what it'll cost to get Ryan O'Reilly. And then they will look around the league and find less flashy of a name with a guy who does what Ryan O'Reilly does, or almost what he does, and be able to get it for a much cheaper price. And then then they can use that money or those assets to add more to the team. I just don't think it's his style to make. I mean, we grew up with it like in the 90s and the 2000s, like the big splash, big name at the deadline guy. Remember those years, Detroit? What was that one year? No, my wheels are turning. I think the Red Wings, was it in the same? What they pick up? It was like Chelios and Robitaille or something, like at the same deadline, like absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you're on the right track there. I don't remember the exact players, but the Red Wings made a massive splash one year.
Yeah, they added like multiple Hall of Famers like at the deadline. Pre-cap world, everybody. So yeah, I just don't see Dubas doing that. So would I like Ryan O'Reilly? Yes. Do I think the price is going to be more than what Dubas is willing to spend when he evaluates what exactly it'll contribute to his team? Yeah, he's not going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah, based on his name and his accolades and his reputation, as I said, as one of the best 200-foot players in the league, there's going to be a big-time asking price for Ryan O'Reilly. I don't think it's going to be worth it, quite frankly, as you alluded to, Lepore. Like, it's going to be a massive price for a guy who's in the decline right now. Not that Ryan O'Reilly's like a bad player, but he's just not the same guy that he was, 3 years ago. Like, even just looking at his raw stats right now, like it's not very good. He's got 10 goals and 16 points in 35 games.
Yeah.
Just not having a great season. If they're going to go for a guy like that, Lepore, I almost would rather see them go after Patrick Kane at that point. And I know Patrick Kane makes more money, and it's Patrick Kane. It's pretty much going to be like the biggest name out there around the deadline. I'd rather see the Leafs go after, like, if they're going to overpay for someone, I'd almost then rather overpay for a guy like Patrick Kane, who could provide an explosive spark in your top six. You can put him on any line you want. I'd almost rather see them do that than overpay for Ryan O'Reilly. But I agree with you. I think Dubas and his staff, they're going to be in the weeds. They're going to they're going to look for the best value possible, because they know this is a great hockey team. And, as you said, they might not have as good a chance as this moving forward, kind of like going back to that COVID season in the North Division, where it seemed like it was just on a platter for them to go to the Final Four. I was almost going to say conference finals like you did. The Final Four, because that year was just all crazy. But anyway, yeah, I don't necessarily see them going after Ryan O'Reilly. It would be a great addition, but I just don't see it happening. It's really as simple as that.
If somebody asked you right now, okay, Ryan O'Reilly will be traded at the deadline, what will be the price tag? Like, what will a team be willing to pay?
I think a team is going to overpay.
Like a first,
like it's going to be like prospects, 1 or 2 first round picks.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. Based on, again, look at the numbers you just said. Like, to give away like a really good prospect or something, like, that's insane. But again, like, I won't be shocked if some team does it. But like right now, if the Leafs could get him for a first, would you do it?
Yeah, like just straight up for a first round pick. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so first and a prospect.
But it's gonna, like, if let's say it was like a first round pick and Matthew Nyes.
No, I wouldn't.
There's no chance I'm doing that.
Yeah. I guess a first, like, you look around the league and you see what's traded for, like, almost any name you've heard of goes for a first or a second. So yeah. I mean, if you think it fits, but yeah.
It's just, I just don't think Ryan O'Reilly's the same player. I still think he's a good player, but if you're going to have to unload, some of your best assets for him. I don't know. I'd be a little bit scared of doing that. And I think, as you mentioned, Lepore, having it burned him, it burned him just a couple of years ago with Nick Foligno. I think Dubas is going to be a little bit hesitant to pull off a similar deal for, I don't want to say a similar type player because Ryan O'Reilly's better than Nick Foligno, but a guy who's declining offensively.
Yeah.
How much value is he actually going to provide us with the team that we already have in place? Like, do I really want to overpay for someone like that?
It's a PR thing is what they call the Grizzly vet. It's a total PR move so people can write articles about it.
Exactly. All right, man. Anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap up this podcast?
No, but I'm very sad because the podcast is ending and I will have to get out there and start shoveling that snow. I will say though, man, Arizona on the horizon. I'm scared of this game. I said in the preseason, talking about all games in Arizona, you're going to have teams going in there, the weird locker rooms, the small arena. It's going to feel different. Arizona's going to be used to it. I am not picturing a slam dunk W for the Leafs in this one. I feel like this year, now they have had a few bad losses, but I feel like for the most part, the Leafs have not been like leafied very often compared to previous seasons. So maybe they'll surprise us and just blow them out. Like these games that we think they're going to lose because of the hockey gods, they end up winning. But I will say, like, I'm not expecting to go in there and just like kick the shit out of the Coyotes.
Yeah, unlike last year where they were losing to the Coyotes and Montreal and Buffalo as like minus 400 favorites.
Yeah.
It hasn't really happened this year, with the exception being, that California road trip where they had some bad losses to Anaheim and San Jose. In the first game of the season, they lost to Montreal, but
it was opening night. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So over the last 25 games, they have not given us one of those embarrassing Leaf losses, but Lepore, it really could come against Arizona. Like I wouldn't be surprised, man. I think they're going to beat Arizona, just to put it on the record, but I would not be surprised if they lost 3-2 in overtime.
You're probably going to get plus 400 or something, plus 300 on the Coyotes. This is the one you might as well make the bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. That is going to do it for episode 86 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. If you're a longtime listener, or if you're a new listener and you really enjoy the podcast, it would be such a big help to us if you give us a 5-star rating on either Apple or Spotify, whatever platform you use. And of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, whether it's a good comment, a bad comment, we don't care. Join us in this conversation, talking about the Leafs, talking about hockey. We love it. All right. So for Michael Lepore, I'm Anthony Bruno. Go Leafs, go. And we will see you in the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Con la máquina se yo, flow.